All right, time for Front Office Insights, presented by Sage. We welcome in Dana Brown, General Manager of the Astros, third season at the helm. Dana, it's Brian Kenny. Thanks for joining us today.
What's up, BK?
I know we're going to be talking to Rick Pitino. We'll be talking St. John's. I just want to mention, you are a Seton Hall of Famer. Do you hate St. John's, or are you okay with them?
No, look, in between the lines, it's a little bit of competitiveness and hate, but overall, as a sport, we love them.
Right. Interesting. No, the Big East ties there. Jose Altuve, I want to talk about him. He's tearing it up at the plate. Slash line looks terrific. Tell me about left field. What do you make of his transition?
Yeah, the transition's going well. Look, for a guy that hasn't played out there, he's really athletic. That's what's key. And, he's getting to a lot of balls in the gaps. He's coming in well. So he's been doing pretty well for a guy that's never played out there. And he's learning still at the major league level, which is pretty tough to do. I mean, this is, like the highest level of baseball. So for the most part, he's done a really good job, and he's growing more each day.
Now, tell me about why you wanted to do that between his defense and getting Yordan Alvarez off his feet, but then you lose Alvarez and you lose a DH because Alvarez now has to move over there, and he's still a relatively young guy. Tell me about like the cost effect of all of that.
Yeah, it creates some flexibility in our lineup. It allowed us to sign, Rogers. Rogers is off to a pretty good start. He went 0 for 5 yesterday, but, he's been swinging the bat well. As you know, he's a, former top pick, a guy who's won a Gold Glove. We think Rogers is going to have a comeback season. And so this allows us some flexibility in our lineup. And it also, as you mentioned, gets Alvarez off of his feet. And so we think this could be a win-win. And, he's still going to play some second base, but he took to it very well. And I think he's doing a pretty good job learning at the major league level.
Dana, we were talking to Kyle Tucker earlier. From an organizational standpoint, give us your reasoning on trading him before his contract year.
Yeah, look, I felt like I've mentioned this before. We want to be competitive in the future and still remain competitive in the present. And one of the things with trading Kyle Tucker, we were able to secure 14 years of control with the players that we have. We feel like this is going to be big upside for us. And look, it's tough to lose Kyle Tucker for a year, but ultimately, we feel pretty good about it. And we think it's going to be a good trade for both sides.
You guys Astros are 7th in payroll, so you're a big spender, relatively speaking. What is your take on the mammoth contracts going up? Because we talk about it on the show all the time. Not that long ago, it was $300 million. It was a big-time contract. Now we're looking at $500 and $700. What's your philosophy on spending that much on one player?
Look, Jim Crane has done a great job here at, signing players and winning at the same time and not really having these long-term deals. And so ultimately, we're going to be very competitive. We're going to spend money, but I think Crane has really set a pretty good precedent on, being aggressive, signing players, continuing to win, but not really locking up into a lot of these long contracts, which sometimes they don't end well. And so I think I would really support his vision on this. And I think he's had a lot of success here. And I think it's a good way to go to continue to remain competitive without getting locked up into these long-term deals.
And you mentioned swapping 1 year for 14 years of club control. Cam Smith is a big part of that. Made the big club right away, had an RBI triple last night. Was that that's the key piece, right? So you believe in this guy to deliver?
Yeah, I mean, we think having Cam Smith for these 6 years that we're going to have him, we think this has got a chance to be really big. He's got huge upside. I was very fortunate to see him in the draft last year when I was out seeing players that we may consider in the first round. I really like the upside, the talent, the makeup's pretty special. He's taken to right field very well. He made a nice play coming in yesterday on the ball. He's been out there really grinding through it. And, look, we feel like this guy at some point in his career will really take off, and getting those years of control. Also adding Wesneski, who had a great start the other day. He's up to 97. And, we know, what Paredes is going to be. He should hit his 25 home runs, and have a pretty good OPS. He's been playing very well at third base. And so, look, to get this kind of control for, 1 year of control with Tucker, not knowing if you were going to sign him, we think it's going to end up being a good deal for both sides. I really feel that way.
Christian Walker, you guys did hit the free agent market, though. You got Christian Walker 3 years for 60. Tell me about, I know he's off to a relatively slow start. What are your thoughts on him so far?
Yeah, look, we know that he's off to a slow start. We know that, he's going to hit somewhere near 30 home runs. He's going to hit about 250 with over an 800 OPS or somewhere near 800. And we know he's a professional hitter. Look, he's good. It's always tough when you get off to a slow start. It's always tough because you get, your bats start to rack up and you don't get hits and your average looks bad. Your OPS looks bad. But look, ultimately, we feel like this guy will get hot. Hits comes in bunches. Hits will come in bunches. And so we're really confident that Walker's going to be really good for us with the bat. And, of course, he's been a Gold Glove defender, and he's been really good at first base for us already. So we feel like this is going to be a really good marriage for us with Walker. Your
rotation remains a strength. Framber Valdez was great yesterday. Hunter Brown today. I think he's kind of under the radar, right, Dana? Like one of the better pitchers in the game going back to last June. Give the fans a scattering report on him.
Yeah, look, Hunter Brown has power arm. He's up to 98, touch 99 at times. Really good secondary stuff, and just came into his own when he added the two-seamer last year because guys were getting on the four-seamer, and so he gave the hitters a little something else to think about. He's, like I said, he's got power stuff. He's a gamer. He competes, and look, Framber is really good too. He's kind of learning a lot from Framber as well, Framber being the veteran in this case. So those two guys at the top of the rotation, I mean, you like that combination. I mean, any team would love to have that.
Dana, I always like coming into your office and talking to you. You have the map of the world behind you. Looks like we're talking to Joint Chiefs of Staff. General Dana Brown joins us now. I like that. Here's the world, fellas. This is what we're shooting for. Dana, best of luck in the future. Thank you so much for joining us again.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, BK.